Hello, good evening, good afternoon, people of love.
Are you going to share real quick or no?
Um, I don't like sharing.
You should.
Sharing is for the lame. It should be greedy. What the world? It's not on my page. Can't share.
It should be. It better be. Does it
Um,
not? I put it on first. Yes, it is, because it said you're live right now.
oh, my bad. So I ain't gotta share it then. If I say, oh wow.
Oh. Yeah, but you can still share it because then it'll take it to the top.
Oh, I don't have to repost it either. All right, let's get started. Woman.
Alrighty. So, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. We're going to start with top of the hour, y'all, because you got to have some type of format. Um, Contrary to what Tremaine thinks.
The head of the household. The man. You heard the name Jermaine. Yeah, what you said?
No, that's not what I said.
Oh.
Tremaine.
Ooh,
All right. So, let's
shorts and
see.
everything in here. Why should have put a different bottom
I
on?
know, right? You just over here looking at kind of way.
Let's go.
Okay. I figured we'd talk about
Thought you said top of the hour. You know what you mean?
yeah, some hot topics today, but first we're gonna start off with the top of the hour because I think there's some really interesting things. Well, a couple of interesting things that we can talk about top of the hour that we've done this week or we've seen this week. Those sorts of things.
Let's
Number one.
go.
Number one. I'm gonna get to it. Number one. So we watched um this movie because it was a movie. Yeah, it was a movie. I was thinking limited series, but no, it wasn't a limited series. It was actually a movie on Prime about this black woman, the movie about the Laura lady, who was,
Oh, yeah. Laura
we
Calvin.
want to say, entrapped
That trapped us. No.
in a marriage
Yeah, yeah.
where she was abused, her kids were abused, her sister wives were abused, and their kids were abused. And it was interesting because you don't see a lot of those stories about black people, first of all. So that's why it was interesting because I think it happens a lot more than what we actually talk about or see. And I don't think that there's definitely not a whole lot of movies and documentaries that kind of talk about it and describe it. Um, but this was a good one. So it was the story of Laura Cohen.
Cohen or Calvin?
Cowan, maybe Cowan. Story of Laura Cowan. And this movie on Prime is based on a true story. And it was just really interesting because the premise is basically this lady is married to this guy. She has kids by him. He gets roped into some stuff and gets arrested. You find out that they're Muslim. And as a result of that, someone from the mosque, a guy, actually approaches her after the husband is arrested and asks her if her and her kids want to come live with him, um, and for him to provide for them, I guess, because she doesn't like work or she doesn't have income and this sort of thing. And then it goes from there to talk about how she was basically kidnapped by the guy, I guess, or held hostage by the
held
guy.
hostage.
Um, yeah, go ahead.
He basically stepped in because I guess I don't know anything about Muslims like that, but little did I know that they're kind of close knit. And then I guess he's an associate of the guy, her husband that got locked up. He offered to bring her in and give her somewhere to stay because she didn't want to go back home. And then everything just started snowballing from there. Uh, he showed signs that she didn't take heed to uh, of being controlling, like super controlling and super narcissistic. And she just didn't take heed. She thought that she even read what a Bible verse or
Yeah.
something saying that the house need light. He had like 12 kids and walk in the house, the kids stand up, he wouldn't feed them, and all kind of stuff. And she just didn't take heed. Now I don't really like blaming the victim, and I hope that's not what this sound like. But when she seen that, to me that would have been a sign to get the heck on. Her mother's sister had been asking her to come back home, and I guess she didn't want to come back home. And then, he basically started telling her, "You don't have anywhere to go. You don't have nothing. I take care of you." Blase this and blase that. He ended up raping her, getting her pregnant, taking the kid, locking her and her kids in the garage. It's a good story, as far as a good documentary, as far as to watch. Um, the behaviors of that particular male is definitely not good. Like, it can be very triggering to people that have been in similar situations. I'll say that.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is that the movie doesn't give you a whole lot of
The real detail.
detail about exactly how it came to be that she was with him like that. But of course, I looked at the court case, right? So I'm reading through the court case, and I'm reading through because he actually filed an appeal from his sentence, and I read through the when they file an appeal, the court will give like this background of everything that has transpired, everything that happened, everything that came up in the first hearing, in the first trial. And so I was reading that, and it was interesting because they kept calling her. They said that she had married him, been manipulated into marrying him. It actually said that in the description. When you go to the movie, it says that in the description. Because remember, I thought it was the first husband, but I guess they were talking about him. But the movie doesn't really show how they were supposedly married or how that worked. But supposedly she's manipulated into a polygamous relationship. So it was like her and two other women who were supposedly his wives, but it doesn't really talk about that in depth, or how she came to be in agreement with being married to him. But I guess at some point it had to be some type of agreement.
Well, it's probably, again, like I said, it's probably one of those situations where she didn't want to go home, and she was trying to be independent, uh, and because he was Muslim, and I guess she was of the Muslim faith, she understood or thought that that's how they operate. And I don't know, it's very interesting. It's very interesting.
It was definitely.
With that being said, I'll say this again. It, Mental abuse, physical abuse, none of that is called for. If anybody knows anybody that, or if you're yourself in that, you find the best exit plan as soon as possible. What they say, if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. So basically, if you see signs that's a good topic. We might go into that right now. If you see signs of somebody being controlling, and when I say controlling, it's mean like, no, you can't go here and that type of stuff. Just like trying to treat you like a child, that may be your first sign to get moving or get on. So, but yeah.
I agree. But anyway, it was a good movie. Watch it. Then go look at the court case like I did, because you'll get more details about what happened. With the punishment that the kids went through was definitely very cruel. To a point where a lot of them was stunted in growth. So you had kids that were like 20 years old that weighed like 50 pounds or stuff like that. So he was a very cruel person.
His daughter's 29 now, and she's literally, what did they say, 79 inches or something. So she's a little bit over 3 feet at 29 years old. That's crazy.
It's just very crazy. But anyway, so that's one of the things I wanted to tell everyone about. To go check that out. And then the other top of the hour, which is really not top of the hour anymore because it was Friday, Valentine's Day, and so happy Valentine's Day to all of y'all.
Oh yeah.
Who celebrate Valentine's Day.
Speaking of which,
I got these flowers and a bear from the kids, and the hubby got me some hiking boots. So it was
I tried to get her pregnant, that didn't work.
We went to dinner, right? We went to dinner, and then I don't think we were going to go to a movie, but we did.
We did go to the movies.
What did we go see? I thought, yes, we saw that movie, Love Hurts. I was trying to think, because I told my coworker, I said we went to movies, and I was like, wait, was that the week before? No, you're right. We went and saw. And
Rotten Tomatoes give that movie is it bad? It's like 50%. But it's actually funny. It's actually good.
Because we went to go see Heart Eyes, but then we ended up seeing, because it was packed.
Yeah.
And so we ended up seeing Love Hurts, but it was good. Very good action comedy type movie. So anyway, So today, though, I thought it'd be interesting to talk about some of these hot topics. I kind of looked up the hot topics. So that was just interesting. We're interested in seeing like what are some of the hot topics that are issues in relationships right now today.
Can I try to
And
name them? Because I ain't looking
you can
up.
try name, yes.
Well, you said today, right?
Yeah,
So we talking about
present day.
but
What are some
I would
hot
think that
topics?
would so I would think that would have to do with this generation.
Okay.
I know one of them is 50-50. That's just definitely one of them,
Okay.
if not number one.
Uh-huh.
Uh, it might be the only other one. Yeah, I don't know them all.
Look, I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised at this list. I think I was surprised because I'm like, oh, this is the same stuff that we've been talking about for years, and it's still couples are still having issues with it, and couples are still breaking up because of it. So of course, the number one topic or hot topic in relationship today is what? Communication issues.
Oh, yeah.
Still communication issues.
But
And it's like, it's not because couples aren't talking to each other, it's because they're not talking in the language that they need to.
of love.
Well,
They're not talking in love.
They're not speaking to each other in a manner in which the other person can understand them. Like they're still having this issue with perceptions and understanding each other. So they're communicating, but they're just not on the same field when it comes to communicating.
So you know what? And again, that's something that we have struggled with too. I'm gonna tell you how I think that we've gotten a lot better. I mean, you're always gonna have misunderstandings because people think differently. And you correct me if I'm wrong. I think what happens, I'm talking from personal experience, because when two people come from two different backgrounds, and everybody will tell you that part, right? We get so stuck on our version of what it should be in a conversation.
Yeah.
And like you could be, you know what, I could come to you and we could be talking nicely and having a discussion or trying to get through whatever.
Mhm.
And because I want to see it my way and I've done it this way so long, and this is part of my problem. And our backgrounds are so different.
Right.
And in my background, this is the way it goes, and in your background, this is the way it goes, and whatever. People tend to not want to see or try to even open their mind that it could be something different.
Right.
Right. And that turns into arguments,
Yeah.
disagreements, getting upset or whatever. And I seen something that says this: is it more important to win an argument that probably really don't mean anything, or to love your partner? And sometimes when we talk about this with ISIS, you have to pick your battles. Like if she's mad because I don't know, like I didn't walk the dog on a timely fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, if you come at me with an attitude, what happens? Normally somebody comes back with you with an attitude.
Right.
So that's part of the communication, understanding your partner and how you should speak to them. And number one, you should be speaking in love anyway. But like me, I'm aggressive. So I would come to her like, yo, why this, that, and the third, and blah, blah, this, and blah, blah, that. And if you, like, we're human, you're going to bite back, right? So, but if you come at them like, hey, listen, you know, I thought I asked you, or, you know, you should have did blah, blah, blah. That's where that communication breaks down at, because people don't want to, they don't realize that this is the person I'm trying to spend the rest of my life with and the person that I love. And they just talk to them like they somebody on the street.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is that it's still the number one reason why couples split up, because of communication issues. And I think it has a lot to do with what you're saying, right? But it also has a lot to do with I don't think people understand how much patience is involved when communicating,
Right.
Because it could be that you're misaligned, so you just don't really know how to. And part of it is what you're saying, like relate to each other, right? But you could be talking to your partner in a way, because you're from different backgrounds, that they don't understand, and they can speak to you in a way that you don't understand. And if you're not willing to take the time to kind of figure out or rephrase how you're saying something, or try to get a deeper understanding of what they're saying, then that breaks the communication down all the way. So you have to have patience too, because a lot of people don't have the patience to sit there and be like, okay, wait a minute. I don't understand. Let's go back again. Let me see if I'm grasping this how you're saying it, because sometimes we're perceiving things wrong, right? And then once we perceive it wrong, it's just
it goes down.
that it's a wrap at that point. Like you perceive it, and it's a wrap. Like you're not hearing anything else, right?
And and again, you also have to and I said this already. I'm sorry. I just was thinking about it because I was thinking about certain situations we have.
Mm-hmm.
You also have to step out of self and get out of your way to, if you love somebody, man, I don't even know what I'm trying to explain. If you love somebody, you're in this relationship for the long term, and loving somebody requires you to try to listen. Not only listen, but hear.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, it's an intentionally hearing.
Right.
Like it's not okay. I'm just gonna shut up and let them say whatever they want to say, and in my mind, ooh, I can't wait to say what I want to say, right? Because what you're doing in that aspect, yeah, you're being quiet and giving them respect to finish what they're saying, which is important.
Right.
But you still not even focusing on what they're saying,
actively
listening.
Yep.
You want to go directly into what you're saying,
Yep.
and while you're doing that, it's like, like you may not be moving like that, but you know you're not actively listening. So then you can't respond appropriately to what they say because you didn't really hear them.
Right.
So,
and the key isn't like, even when you say like you have to choose your battles, that doesn't necessarily mean that, okay, well, I'm gonna just let this go but still be mad about it.
Right.
In my head. That's not what that means at all. It means deciding what things are worthy of. I don't even want to say worthy of it, because I think, like, when you talk about choosing your own battles, that's really subjective, right? So I think it's all about what things you're gonna keep pushing on, and what things you're gonna just be okay with saying, okay, well, we just gonna disagree on that. And we'll agree to disagree is not that serious, right?
Yeah.
Because I think in some respects you almost have to address those things that bother you, but it's also knowing when to say, okay, well, we just want to agree. We're not going to agree on that right now, and we'll let it go. So it tells that, because I think sometimes people just they'll say they're not gonna, or they'll pick their battles, or they'll say, okay, I'm not gonna address it, but then you hold on to it. So that doesn't make things any better.
And I was guilty of that as well. Like, you can't. So here's the thing, right? I'll get to this. The question is, how do you communicate better? Mm-hmm. So since that's the problem, number one, and if this list is out here and it's still going on, obviously, mm-hmm. then you know it's an issue. So then I think through counseling, because mm-hmm. obviously if you're not communicating appropriately, you don't know how to do it on your own. Mm-hmm. And that's counseling. That's why I said last week, like, counseling for the Black community, we think, oh, I ain't going no damn counselor. Nobody can't tell me da, right? But obviously, if you're not communicating with your spouse because you can't actively hear her, or she can't actively hear you, you get a third party in there that's neutral. They can give you certain things and certain tools to be able to speak to one another better. I'll give another example. You remember when how I used to get upset, and then I just wouldn't want to talk for 8, 9, 10 hours the mm-hmm. next day, or whatever it was. And I've been like that my whole life, and nobody was going to break me. I don't care if you're my wife. I don't care if you're my homeboy, my daughter, or whatever it is. When I get mad and I don't want to talk to you, I don't want to talk to you. I don't care who you are. So 2 things. One, I had to understand that you're my wife, right? You're my partner. That's not going to work because it upsets you. Mm-hmm. You was one that, no, let's talk about it right now and get it out of the way. So when we talked to Isis, what did Isis say? She was like, okay, well, how long does it take you to calm down, Jermaine? I don't know, whenever I calm down. And Zorana, basically, how long will you allow him to have his time to calm down? And she was like, I don't know. I like to get things out of the way now. So what do? Because at that point, it's like, before we started talking to her about it, it was like, I get mad and she won't leave me alone, and I'll get madder, and now I don't want to talk to her, and so that's a whole disaster. So we came up with a compromise. Okay, Jermaine, you go do 2-3 hours, and you come back and try to resolve it. Because if I go a whole day and I'm not saying nothing, and she needs to talk about it right then, now tomorrow I'm ready to talk about it, and she's still really pissed off, and I didn't calm down, and I just get pissed off even more all over again. So then now I gotta need to, oh no. So then you come up with a compromise and you figure it out. I've been saying lately that marriage is becoming fun to me, and what's fun about it is every day I get to figure out how not to piss my wife off, or how to make my wife uh, happy, or what am I trying to say? I get to figure out what makes her stay in a good mood, sort of, and I mean vice versa as well. But for me, that's fun because every day is going to be a different challenge, because you can do something every day to make somebody mad, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it's learning you and learning your behaviors and evolving until, and that's another good topic. I'm sorry, I got ADHD, my mind run. Evolving into the man that even that you could never imagine that you could have. Right. So like that's a process, but you have to be willing to either get help or really sit down and talk to one another rationally and listen and hear one another. And if you can't do that without yourself, then you got to go to counseling.
That's true.
You have to go to counseling.
Right.
And at that point, it's not a bad thing. That's not really. It's bad because communication breaks you up. I understand that, but that's not really. If you catch it early, that could be fixed. That could be nipped in the bud so quick.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to take time, but you got something to practice on versus the back and forth for years.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's definitely true. So
it worked for me, and believe me, I had one of the worst attitudes in the world.
It does, and again, so sometimes it takes just saying, like sometimes I'll even when we're talking, I'll say something, I'll just go like, nope, he's not going to interpret that how I mean. So let me back up real quick and say it again. Sometimes I've done that. Be like, wait, I'm trying to say blah 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 blah, and sometimes it takes that, or he'll do it me. This is what I'm saying, just so we can get that understanding. And so perception checking is really important, right? Even repeating back to the person, so this is what I'm getting at. You're saying blah 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 to me. Yeah, so they can tell you right then and there, no, that's not what I'm saying. Like Jermaine sometimes says, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, right. Because
you don't understand what I'm saying. Okay, well, tell me again, because I don't know.
Matter of fact, we had a situation. I ain't gonna go into detail on that, but we had a situation the other day. Not mad or nothing, but I was explaining to her how I used to deal with women and how I decided whatever I decided to do. And the way I explained it was, I put her in a group of women with hoes. You know what I'm talking about? Excuse my language. No, I'm not trying to tell you you in a group with hoes, but when I thought about when she explained to me how I was, because we were arguing, but I was like, no, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is this, that, and the third. But then and again, you think about it. If you call ordinarily, think about this. Ordinarily, if I would have said that, or anybody say that type of stuff, and they take it like I'm grouping you with the hoe and you're my wife, right? You're gonna get mad, right. And you have every right to be mad. But because we worked on certain things, it was funny to us. Yeah, it was like because she was laughing at me. I was like, no, how you getting that?
And I said, what you saying is blah 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 blah. He's like, oh, I guess it does sound
like that. But again, and we were joking around like with the conversations, talking about crazy stuff I've done, but that could have went sideways, like easily, because then at that point it's very offensive how I described it, although I didn't mean it to be, but because we've worked on certain things, it didn't turn into nothing, right? And that's effectively communicating, and that's a small thing, but we've added that type of hearing and listening to one another into our marriage, and it works. It helps considerably.
That's true.
So if you ask me personally, how you get around it is do you want the best possible marriage that you can have? And when you look at it like that, then you're going to do everything possible
to figure it
to
out.
figure it out. Because most people, that's why I think that number's so high, or it's the number one thing. Because
Yeah,
when
like
you
people are
people,
still
when people
breaking off divorce because communication.
then you start saying what comes with that? We're not compatible.
Yeah, we're not.
We're not this, that, and the third. No, you just don't want to hear one another.
Right.
You're two individuals, but you're one individual.
Right.
Yep. And you're gonna be different. But
that's true.
Anyway.
So the other one, which again is surprising, that's still on the list, but not as surprising. I'm gonna go with your 50-50, but it's the managing financial difficulties. So again, you have financial disagreements. You have the whole finance argument that is still plaguing couples today.
I'm about to turn that into a whole nother thing.
Please don't do that. No, and causing all type of issues in relationships when it really doesn't have to. If you lay out what your expectations are before you even get in a relationship.
So
like at the very beginning, when you're talking to someone and you've been thinking about dating, that's something you should be talking about. Like, how do you manage your finances? Because it's important. What do you think about financial arrangements? Like, what's your idea on that? Are you traditional? Are you, more contemporary? All of that should be discussed.
I wonder the aspects of that. I would like to see more of that, because when they say managing finances, right? Are we talking about like household finances, like who should pay what, how should that be paid,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or are we talking about, and if it's all coupled in one, then that's fine. Or are we talking about just you're spending too much, or I'm spending too much, or whatever? And I also would like to know who is making that biggest complaint.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the woman or is it the man? Because I that's kind of hard for me to say. I was getting ready to say I was going to turn it into a whole nother thing,
mm-hmm.
but then I can't really say that either, because what I was getting ready to say, I bet it's the women. It's more women that's saying that than anything,
mm-hmm.
because I'm thinking about the shopping aspect of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I can't really say that neither, because I think of men, we do crazy stuff with money as well,
right?
And I'm a little bit more mature now, where I wouldn't just go out and buy just crazy stuff like I would before. Mm-hmm. Like I've done all of that, so I've had everything I want basically, and I wouldn't go out and just spend money stupidly.
Right.
But I wonder who's making that complaint.
I don't know. I know one of the things they talk about is managing the shared spending. So, and that's a major source of conflict. So I think that when people have shared accounts.
Before you start, hold on. Before you start, to me, that's what, I gotta finish. I'm sorry, I'll say it. I'll say it's an easy fix, and I'm gonna tell you how.
Well, so I think what happens is that you have this shared spending, right? And you have either one spouse wanting to spend more, or one partner wanting to spend more than the other partner, or the one just like spending money and not really being considerate about what's needed for bills or what you need to save. And again, that's something that should be discussed before you even start dating, actually, because like people used to think it was weird when they said someone would ask like me different questions about finances, like, oh, why are they asking that? It's too early. Or why they're asking about career goals and work and different things like that. Well, a lot of that can help you determine whether or not this person may be financially responsible. And for some people, that's important.
Well, what's too early to ask that, though? That's a whole nother discussion. No, I ain't gonna go that way.
Look, I don't know, but it's like it's a way that in which you can discuss those things beforehand without getting too into somebody else's business. But it's definitely something that has to be discussed. It has to be something that if you decide to be with a person, you all are sitting down and writing out a plan about how you're going to take care of it, and you have to be in agreement with it, period. Like at the end of the day, you're going to have to decide that you're going to compromise, you're going to be in agreement with someone with regards to how you both are deciding you're going to manage your finances, but you definitely shouldn't go into any relationship or marriage or anything saying, okay, well, I don't agree with how they doing it, because it's going to just cause conflict later on. That's what's going to happen. You're just going to be fighting about it.
It does,
later on.
and especially, but I got an easy fix for that in my mind. I would like to get your rebuttal after I say this.
Oh Lord.
If especially if you're living in two different households while you're dating, right?
Yeah.
I'll say this either way, man or woman. If you let's say we're dating and you see first of all, everybody's gonna ask what you do for a living. That's when you start dating, that's a conversation, right? If I'm telling you I work at, and nothing against anybody that work at Walmart, but if I'm telling you I work at Walmart, and when you see me, I got these gold chains on and Jordans here and BMW and a Mercedes and motorcycles, and well, you working at Walmart and you got all of these things, like, okay, well, even if you got an inheritance from somewhere, how are you affording this if you ain't selling drugs? Right? You know what I mean? So to me, that says that you may be a little bit frivolous on your spendings and whatever. If I see you as a woman and you telling me you work at Walmart, and I mean, I know people sell knockoffs, right? So, and you got, but all of these designer things, and you always talking about you going to spend this and spend that and da 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 da. But I know your salary is a little bit where say you shouldn't be doing that. And then I would question, especially you telling me where you live.
Right.
Then I would say those type of things would give an indication of your, to me, spending.
Right. Yeah.
In my opinion.
Right.
Because you can't have a Bentley standing in an apartment complex unless you just separated or divorced.
Right.
Can't do that, right? That's whatever. So my easy fix to that is this. If you either have one account, matter of fact, that's what you should do. Have one account for bills. Both of y'all got a job. If you decide this, both of y'all got a job. You have direct deposit of XYZ going in your check in that account. Y'all determine what your bills are going to be. And XYZ come out your check every week to go in that account. And if you decide to do whatever you want with your money after that, your bills are covered. That's an easy fix for me. Now, the problem with that becomes, I mean, it is, because the problem becomes, if you're doing this, then you know who the problem is. If you not putting, if we taking $100 a week out of our check to go in the bill account, everything's being deducted bill wise out of that, and you're not putting $100 in that account every week, and you never have no money, but I'm putting $100 in there, and that's what's in there for bills, then we know what the problem is.
Yeah, but I don't think that resolves anything.
Oh, it resolves it.
It
resolves anything. It resolves it because now you give me your check and I give you an allowance.
No. That's not resolving. I think the better way to resolve it is to come up. As you can see, we're still working through that. No. But I think the better way in which people, I don't think they give us much credit to, is budgeting. Because if you come up with a budget as a couple, and you're saying, hey, this is what, because at the end of the day, now you all may disagree with me and whatever, but my thing is like, I don't care how much money you feel like you have after your bills. If you can't be disciplined enough to say, okay, but I'm only going to spend this much on frivolous entertainment stuff, and I'm going to put the rest of it aside. So regardless of whether or not I get extra money that month from maybe some bonuses or something, that doesn't mean I'm just going to go out and spend it. I'm still going to stick to my budget of this amount I have allocated for entertainment and for self-care and blah, blah, blah. And then whatever is in excess, after the bills and stuff, goes into a savings or goes into an emergency fund or go into a vacation fund. People should just be doing that when they're single, right? Regardless of what bills you have, you should just be doing that. But as a couple, you definitely should come up with a budget, because if you come up with a budget saying, okay, this is what comes in, because you may not know what your bills are every month. Your bills fluctuate. They fluctuate enough where it's not like you can just be like, oh, we only gonna put $500 in for bills. What you can determine though is I only need to spend this much on entertainment a month, or I only need to spend this much on self-care a month.
Well, that comes with discipline, though. Some people don't have that.
But that's
type
what
of
I'm saying.
discipline.
So when you budget ahead of time and you have that stuff written down, there shouldn't be no issue about what else is happening. Because if I'm saying to myself, well, I'm only going to spend my $200 because that's what I said I have, and you put that in something separate, like you have your own. I think people should have a joint account, and then they should have their own separate, individual account that they put their entertainment, their, I don't want to call it allowance, but their entertainment, their self-care. I want to treat my partner money into that separate account. And that's something that should just be budgeted out. And doesn't mean you have to spend $100 every month on entertainment. So you may actually end up with a surplus because you haven't been spending your whole $100 every month. You only been spending $25, right? Because maybe you say, oh, I know next month is my partner's birthday and I want to be able to have this type of money for their birthday. So then you don't have those disagreements because you don't have to worry about, oh, they're spending more out of the account than I'm spending, or they making frivolous purchases. And that's the other thing. There should be an agreement on what's a major purchase that we're going to take out of the main account. And we need to talk about these major purchases before anyone makes a purchase, and we need to agree on it.
Guess what that goes back to?
What?
Communication.
Yeah, communication. It
So,
does.
but I want to say this too, and this is the same thing with the communication thing. I wonder how much of your background plays into that. Meaning, I'll use me for instance. And I told you this. When I was coming up, watching my brother and and Brad and everybody else doing all of these things, and I really didn't have that financial capability to do everything they had, right? When I bought my truck, I started seeing money that I never seen before. So I started buying M6s and Mercedes and motorcycles. And I bought a $10,000 watch that I don't even know where it's at.
To the point where I keep remembering what's the face said, he's so flashy.
Who said that?
The motorcycle guy that fixes motorcycles.
Oh,
yeah. He's always so flashy.
Dre. So, but so like, and because I never had those things, and I just now was able to obtain them at a real late part of life, right? So, I wonder how much does that type of thing, your background, plays into your financial capability.
But which is why maybe a couple should say, hey, we're gonna take a financial course together.
Or you can get a wife like mine and I'll just trust everything you say.
Well, I'm just saying, or that could be a goal because maybe the person don't understand. And if you take the right financial course, you'll learn about generational poverty mindset. You'll learn about all those things, how to be more financial, and you should come out of that being like, hey, I want to do this.
I just wonder, I got a better question. I wonder how many people had a mindset as stupid as mine. Because I had a real ignorant mindset, and I'm not being funny. I'm not even trying to disrespect myself, but it is what it is. I don't even think a financial course would have helped me because I wasn't willing to. I didn't feel. It's like being hooked on drugs, right? People can give you all the help you want, but until you're ready to do it yourself, I don't think it would have changed me because I wanted those things.
Right.
I seen those things that people had, and now I had the money to get it. It wouldn't have been. First of all, I wouldn't have been open to taking.
Well, see, that's
because I didn't even think I had a problem.
Right. So my response to that then would be that couple probably should be together. It's gonna cause some issues.
Oh well, yeah, that's.
When you put it in couple terms, they shouldn't be together. Like if you can tell somebody who's not willing to grow, and if they, especially when it comes to finances, then that's just gonna cause a host of issues. So they probably shouldn't just be together.
Yeah, because I say around what's this 2025, around 2012 through 26, 2012 through 2018, right before I met you. Yeah, you could have been.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been.
The
thing is, I would see some of the stuff that you would post, and as a matter of fact, even when you were like when we had just met or whatever, and like some of your memories or something pop up and you post them, I'd be like, what is he doing now? Oh my God. Like he's so, I was thinking like, oh, he's so flashy. I was thinking like the other guy, he's so flashy. Like why would he be?
So that wouldn't. I mean,
posting all his whole.
And then, and I'll say this. I'll say this. Watch this. Right then, where I was at in life, with the money that I was making and with your salary, me now versus me then my mindset then, it's crazy how I can know what I would have been thinking then.
Mhm.
That's what we was just talking about earlier. Like my mindset then would be like, oh man, I'm about to get everything. We about to get a $20 million house and blah 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 and do this and do that.
Yeah.
That would have been my mindset with the money you making, the money I was making. Now it's a whole different ball game. Yes, I still want a nice house, right? Yes, I still want certain things,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel as though that we have to get to a place where we're both comfortable before I try to say, hey, let's go get this, or hey, let's go get that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I know that, you know, you're not where you're not where you want to be. I'm not where I want to be. So for us to go, because we both want a new pontoon, right? But for us to go out here and go buy a $20,000, $30,000 boat, and we got other things we want to do, that doesn't make sense. But then I would have been like, no, we make the money, let's go get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like all of that has something to do with growth, maturity wise. It goes back to counseling. I think because we discussed this before, women mature quicker than men. The counseling was that's what I was going to talk about too. The counseling makes you realize, hey, can we really be together or not?
It does.
You know what I mean? Like when you really feel as though that, when do we go to counseling? That'd be the question that people probably would want to ask. Well, how do you know when you're supposed to go to counseling? I'll say this.
You should go to dating counseling.
Well, I would say, she said dating counseling. She laughing, but that's how she feels.
I really feel like
I personally say, when you realize that person is somebody like, oh, I got a serious interest in this person, this may go somewhere. I think then, and I don't take no more than 2 months. Then you invest. Anything else you do, you invest in, like something
right,
long term.
I'm thinking this is why I say, and I'm only slightly kidding, but I think if you're the type of person that's dating with purpose, like people say, I'm dating with purpose. I'm not just dating around. I'm dating to find someone that I can marry. That puts a whole nother spin on things, right? And the reason why I say as soon as possible in your dating stage is because you don't want to get to the point where you, like you're saying, when you're like, oh, well, this person if I can really be with. By that time, most people think they're in love. So at that point, you're willing to compromise some stuff, or you think you are. You're willing to compromise some stuff. But then when you get into the deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's kind of like, oh, I don't know if I should have did that, but now it's too late because I really like. So I'm saying before you get to all that, because you don't want your emotions to play a role in what you're willing to accept. You want to be able to accept things and say, yeah, I'm okay with that. If I'm dating you, before I even like you like that, I want to be able to say, oh yeah, I'm okay with that. Because if I'm saying it, well, before I even like you like that, I know I can deal with it when I'm in love with you. But if I'm saying it when I'm in love with you, I may be just saying some things. And when you get to that point where the love ebbs and flows, and when you get to the low point, or you having issues in your relationship, that one thing you thought that you can compromise on will come right back up. Yeah. And you're gonna be like, yeah, I don't even know why I was with them in the first place.
Well, here's what I ask you though. Who the heck paying for it?
With the counselor?
Yeah, because I'm not about to be dating you and you talking about, hey, you know what, we went out 3 times. Hey, you know what? I think, I'm dating with a purpose. I think you can potentially be my wife, right? But I want to make sure we align and our goals align. Yeah, we Are you gonna help me pay for counseling? Or do I have to pay for it? Because I'm not about, if I'm dating with a purpose, I'm not about to continuously pay for counseling with women that don't have the same thing.
Maybe you guys don't have on it. How about that?
I don't have those problems, but in this day and age, women, and nigga, you want to run it up, you should pay for it.
But this is my thing though, because if a person not willing to do that, then it's like, okay, we probably shouldn't be here because you're not even willing to see if this is gonna be worth it. I'd rather spend. Because it may only take a few counseling sessions, right? And what are they?
$125 an hour.
So I'd rather spend $300 on 3 counseling sessions. You spend $300. That's 6 counseling sessions right there, right? Or just about a little bit, give or take. 6 counseling. I'd rather spend that money ahead of time than get involved with somebody who, for example, is not financially savvy and now they done blew $15,000 of my money.
I'm going to
and gonna leave me anyway.
I'm going to tell you right now, there's not a Negro
when they go to church, go to
neglect.
church and get, because a lot of the times, the person's church, the minister will give them counseling, they want to pay for it.
Well,
Now look, there
well,
you go.
then you need to find somebody in the church then. So then
Well,
you have
I
to go.
mean, look.
Because here's the thing.
Or y'all both decide, hey, maybe we need to be going to church. Maybe we need, I mean, something, because
You're putting too many variables
We're
in there. I'm
saying-
sorry.
but we're
You're
saying,
putting entirely too many variables in there. Because my thing is,
if you're right, see, ultimately it's going to make you better either way. So like,
it's gonna make you better, but
I'm just saying, like, if people invested, you're talking about invested, if they invested in dating, which is with the counseling and all that stuff, or they invested in the relationship, you wouldn't have these type of issues.
okay. So let me ask you a question. How many times do you think people will be dating in a year? So let's say you do that and then it doesn't work, right?
Mhm.
How long have you put into that? How long have you invested in that? What time frame?
Well,
is
are
it?
you dating with a purpose?
Yes. And then if we're going to counseling, because you say you're dating with a purpose,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so let's say you agree,
Mhm.
and then we go to counseling. Whether you pay for half of it, we pay half and half. So like you said, $600, right?
Mhm.
Unless you're in church and you talk to pastors,
Mhm.
it's pretty well, right? But let's say ordinarily, whatever. You know what? You're cool. Yeah, I don't think this may not be for me.
Mhm.
And that's what you say. I agree. You're a good person. I think we're going.
Just now.
Yeah, you're a good person though. We can hang out, right?
Mhm.
So how many times you do that a year?
Well, and my thing is like, if you're having to go through that many people in a year, then you maybe need to be more discerning about who you even choose to invest your initial amount of time in, right? Because I'm thinking like, you're talking to this person a little bit, right? On the phone, something. You're not just immediately, let's go here. But my point is, instead of spending $150 on a meal for me, let's go and talk about, because if I'm dating with a purpose, let's go and sit down and really have some real conversations about where you are at mentally. And most of us are coming into this relationship with all this trauma, right? So we already have all this trauma, these issues. This is what we need to do.
We're living in 2025, okay?
I'm saying.
Let me ask you a question. Take me out of the picture. But no, see, because you're different.
Mhm.
You're different. But for most of the time, if a man or a woman, let's say a man, if a man walks up to a woman and you start having a conversation,
Mhm. and
then you talk on the phone for a couple of weeks, then you go out one time, and then the next time you talk to that person, like, hey, you know what? Like I said, I told you, we agreed you dating with a purpose, I'm dating with a purpose, let's go to counseling session. And you only been out one time, I think people gonna look at you like you crazy.
At the end of the day, do you care?
About spending $300 on somebody.
I'm just saying you're investing in yourself. So if they're gonna look at me crazy, then I will hope that the person is honest enough or upfront enough to say, yeah, I'm not doing it. Because if you're not doing it, then I don't need to go. Why are we even pursuing this any further?
Yeah, well, I think
because
that's
again, like
people,
Martin said, you shouldn't be looking at it as an investment. If it's an investment,
I agree with that.
And Matt, waste of time and money.
Exactly.
But I'm saying, but if you're thinking of it as an investment, you're going to get something out of it for yourself too. Because that counseling session should make you realize some things about yourself. Like, yeah, okay, maybe I don't want to date with a purpose right now because there's too much involved in that. Or see, maybe I need to be looking for people somewhere else, or maybe I need to just sit back and wait to God.
See, here's the problem.
No,
I'm being serious. Now I have to go back to the earlier version of Jermaine.
But the earlier version of Jermaine didn't need anyone.
Well, but that's the point.
Right.
So you hold on. That's the point. Right? That's the point. I didn't need any woman because of how I was.
Right.
So if I would have met Zorana in the earlier version of me, in the first couple of things, and you know what? I want to be married again, and would you be open to going to counseling? That version of me would have said, yeah. Just to get to where I wanted to be with you and get what I wanted from you.
No,
and it would have waste of money.
No, it would have
been.
And
I know everyone know because it would have been it wouldn't have been a waste for you. Mm-hmm. Actually, it would have been a waste of money for you because my intentions wasn't authentic anyway.
The counselors can see that though; they can see right through that. And to be honest, you see this is how God works, because while He's saying this, it's funny because the first time you came to counseling with me, you had all this negativity about counseling and how it doesn't work and how they ain't not gonna do anything for you. And then what happened?
Whoa.
Then all of a
That's
sudden,
no.
it
See,
changed your mind. Your mind changed.
Whoa. It did change, but you have to understand, I was in the process of wanting to change.
No, I get that. But I'm saying that counseling will bring you act like these counselors aren't trained to see stuff like that. They're trained to see that. They're trained to see manipulation. They're trained to see when somebody's actually trying something for pretend or they really being real about it, so that all of that will come through out.
So I have narcissistic tendencies. I think back then, I think I was manipulative enough to be able to, that would have been a challenge to me.
Look, he talking about, let's not go into how well you were at manipulating, because you were not very good at manipulating anything. Let's get that first of all. So he wants to think that he was good at manipulating, but from everything I've heard, he was not. Manipulators don't get manipulated, baby. So anyway, but that's what I think that people should go to counseling.
I think
in their relationship.
I just think it should be a little bit later than what you're saying.
Whatever suits them best. But I'm saying that it needs to be before you talk about you're in love with somebody. It needs to be before.
But I tell you this right here.
You feel like you put so much time into it that you have no choice but to go forward, because that's what happens with people. What people end up doing. We talk about women seeing red flags all the time. What happens is that by the time they start noticing red flags, they're already liking the guy so much, or they're already put so much into a relationship that they decide, oh, let me ignore this. Let me ignore that. So I don't care how people think, but you should do that as early as possible so that your emotions are not clouding your thinking.
You know what?
Like, you need to go into that with a clear mind, and anyone who's not down with it, they're not worthy of your time to begin with. Like, period. That's the bullet that you know
the only thing. The only reason I want to disagree with this whole conversation. Right. Zeralda, be honest. And I'm asking you this in front of the world. Yeah, if we were there to counseling, would we be married?
Right now.
Exactly.
No.
So would it work? What?
It would work, because
What?
Not like that.
What the? We have to have effective communication tonight. This is some bull. That's why my mother always said, never ask a question you don't want the answers. I need something to throw.
What I'm saying is that we probably would, if you were, let me qualify that answer. If you were what you call the old Jermaine, or you didn't want to change, you didn't want to grow, then we probably would have never been together. And that I'm not saying that would have been it would have been a bad thing for a person if you're not wanting to change, right? Because it takes out a lot of headache.
I'm not talking about that person.
If you had been the person you are, I don't think that counseling would have made us go separate ways, because I think that you would have been able to see, we need to change some things, which is what you did.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
But what I had going on in the beginning, and where you were at.
But I was already in counseling.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is bringing me into the fold. Like, you understand, I came into the counseling session later on. Right. So we're talking about dating, and the dating aspect of it earlier. With what I was telling you about being friends, and then with certain things that I had going on, right? Those things would have been, and that's crazy because I just looked this up too. Those things would have been escalated and put on the forefront even more. So you wouldn't have been able to, I'm gonna look past this, or I'm gonna look over this, or I'm gonna wait and see, because it would have been like blah, right in your face.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So what I believe, I would agree with you. I don't think we would have been together because of everything that was going on, and I was already, with me saying we should just be friends, hesitant because of what I had going on. But it would have just been so much in your face. I would have realized and like, I'm not about to do that. I'm not about to do her like that. She's been through this already. And then you probably would have came to the point of, we shouldn't do this because this, that, and the third going on. I'm not right here, and this, that, blah, blah, blah. So then, we're just gonna be friends. And now I don't see you no more, because I wouldn't have been your friend after that.
Why wouldn't you been my friend?
I just told you downstairs.
That's me,
I can't like you and then still be your friend.
You know what? But if you're going through counseling, they help you work through that.
No, I'm not going to. After I realize we're not going to be together, you think I'm continuously spend money? What the hell is this about? And I already didn't like counseling.
This is the thing though. What I think, like we joke, but this is serious. I think what happens is some people find out that they're not compatible, right? And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
I wouldn't have had a wife.
Well, listen, it solves some couples a lot of headache down the road, right?
Probably the majority.
And it keeps them from having to deal with a lot of things. I think in other instances, it may cause couples, like you said, been right in my face or whatever. It would cause couples to say, okay, yeah, we need to slow down with this, or we need to make sure we set some boundaries. We need to make sure we're seeing progress. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Because you act like because we were not going to counseling together, that's not what was happening. It was happening in my sessions, and I told you that. And she told you that. I had in my session, this is the progress that I need to see. The only person that wasn't aware of it was you. So whether you had gone or not, if I hadn't seen that progress, we wouldn't have been together. And I was telling her, this is what I need to see by this time. This is what I need to see by here. She'll tell you, this is what I need to see by this. I need to see this and this and that. So the only person that didn't know was you.
So what you was gonna do?
What you mean?
What you gonna do? If I wouldn't have got to wherever you, what you was gonna do?
Oh, brother.
You was gonna leave me?
Brother, you would have been here, brother.
How you figure that?
Praise God. Praise the Lord.
So now, praising nothing.
Praise the Lord.
Take this picture now. So, well, I'm telling you, you gonna break over me? How you was gonna break over me and I wasn't doing nothing but loving you?
Anyway, but I'm being real. I mean, I'm serious.
No,
Like,
I
that's why I
agree,
think that is important.
No,
Because even if it have some people to me, if you believe God has destined you to be together, if you believe in faith, you believe you're going to come back around, but it's maybe just not that's not the right time, or maybe you do need to put some things in place so that person doesn't unintentionally even start taking you for granted because you didn't put those standards up. We had that issue where I was feeling like at some point, like, okay, well now I feel like but some of the things that we've gone through and we've overcome, we would have never had to deal with had it not been discussed further up in our face from the beginning, if that makes sense.
I do. And so, it does. What I would agree, though, it would make people realize if they could be together or not, right?
Right.
I 100% agree with that. But what I will say is this, too. With that... Woo, boy, I'm about mad at you right now. You've been with me, man. Now, but what I'm saying is this: you
should have been like, okay, well, if she would have been with me, at least she'd have been like, I don't know.
With you, with going through counseling early on, yeah, it stops a lot of stuff and a lot of red flags.
Right.
I mean, a lot of things from potentially happening. With us, like. No, that's what I was. With us, it was a progress, and maybe counseling would have, it didn't, because I always think of things in the negative anyway, but maybe counseling would have helped us more and we wouldn't have went through those things. Mm-hmm. But you said something that's key, right? A lot of the times that these relationships are ending without communication, without, with these financial, and going through all that because they don't keep God first.
They don't.
So it's like, that's a big part of it. Like, I don't, to whoever believes in what, to me, it's only one God, but whatever. If you don't have God first, mm-hmm. then everything is going to crumble. I said this in the beginning. My last marriage, our foundation was dirt, mud, because I came into it with a whole different messed up mindset. So we didn't have a solid foundation. And I believe if you have a solid foundation, you can build. If all that crumbles, your foundation is still there. Right?
Yeah.
That foundation is God.
Right.
Right. So everything that's built
mm-hmm.
and breaks it, you can rebuild it.
Yeah.
As long as that foundation is there.
Right. Yeah.
So if you get God first and have a strong foundation, it helps overcome those things that mm-hmm. That may arise, and it also helps you. What it helped me do. You did more of it than the counseling session, but what it helps me, what it has helped me done is understand different ways in the ebbs and flows mm-hmm. of a marriage, of a relationship, and how to get through it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
I just like and now one thing I'll never agree with, like I said, you still give me butterflies to this day. You get on my nerve, but you still give me butterflies. I've seen enough, and I don't want to. When I say I don't agree with it, it's just like I don't want to ever get to that stage.
Right.
But if I ever do, I understand it's just a stage.
Right.
Right. So like people get to those stages and like, oh, like you said, I don't know. I don't love them no more, or I don't like them no more. Then they get wandering eyes, and then they get the work husbands or wives, and then they get very flirtatious, and then all of a sudden you really start neglecting your spouse.
Right.
And then you just start, whatever. So I don't know. Yeah, it will help. It will help. And we're still gonna have a counseling session. We gotta figure out when we're gonna when we're gonna do it, right? But yeah.
But look, I'll go over one more. And we can actually finish the rest of them next week. But the list is interesting. Like I said, it's interesting because I'm thinking like, wow, these things are still problems. Actually, two more, but it's just weird. But the other one was dealing with unrealistic expectations.
We talked about it in counseling session.
And in that, what they're saying is like, you can't change a person, and this is all it hits on. Exactly what we talk about in counseling. Some of the same things I've said to you before, like when we used to have discussions. And I think that in a way we were counseling each other, right? Because we were having our own counseling sessions. So we would have like these in-depth discussions. And Jermaine would think that I was just going too deep with him sometimes. But like we would have discussion about, well, what would be your response? And he's like, it's just a hypothetical. Why are you so? And I'm like, because if your mindset hasn't changed, then how can you change your behavior? And blah, 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 blah. And we would just go back and forth. Well, when they're talking about these unrealistic expectations, they're saying, hey, you can't change a person. They said, so you have to understand who that person is. And then that person, if there's something that you need that person to do differently or to be different, that person has to want to change that part of themselves. They have to look at that themselves and say, yeah, you know what? I'm not very good at spending money. I do need to change that. Or I really shouldn't be hanging out with my buddies till 4 o'clock in the morning. I really do. But it has to be their mindset. Like they have to. I have told Jermaine from out of the Hollow, I said, don't change anything and say you're doing it for me. I said, because at the end of the day, that's just a superficial change. You're going to go back to the same habit.
It took me forever to understand.
And he was like, no, what do you mean? I'm like, no, that's superficial. And this is funny because the article I was just reading tonight said the same thing. Like old habits, like sometimes it's hard for them to die. And if you don't have a changed mindset, you just change the behavior to please a person that's certain, they're going to go, eventually they go right back to doing what they do.
And I'll add this one more time and I'll let you finish. I'm sorry. That's the reason, honestly, we were able to work. And I'm sorry I keep bringing this up, but we were able to work because it took me 40 plus years to want to change. And when whatever happened in my last marriage happened, at that point I realized, I can't do this no more. Mm-hmm. And not because I had health issues. Well, I did, but I didn't know. Not because I had health issues, not because anything other than something that in my wrongdoing, I did something that I said, and I told you, if anybody do their spouse like this, they're the worst person in the world. Yeah. In my core, that's who I was. I don't care how bad I was. I tell you, I was cheating and everything, and I had a kid on my ex-wife. And anybody that does that, you're the worst person in the world. I stand on that still to the day. I classify myself sort of like a drug addict. I have to live with that the rest of my life. That's who I was. That person has died now, but that's what made me change and want to change, because it's like I will never hurt nobody else like that, because I've always thought that any man or any woman that cheat on their spouse and have a baby, you are the lowest piece of scum on earth. And I became the lowest piece of scum on earth. And unfortunately, it took that at 40 years old to be like, I will never, ever, ever be that person again. So going into us, that's why counseling would have worked with dating earlier on, right? Because I just didn't want to do that anymore, to the extent of the mindset change. you know, even when we first started dating and we went out with, you know, certain people that was married and
Mhm.
you didn't know that that wasn't their wife, or you thought, I thought I had told you, but you didn't know that that wasn't their wife, and you were telling me that I can't hang around that because blah blah blah, and I was defying like, no, I mean that whatever he doing ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm not doing it. Blah blah blah. It took me a minute to grasp that,
Mhm.
right? I believe it now. In my heart, if I was single and with the knowledge that I have, I wouldn't say that I wouldn't hang around them, but I would be more vocal about it, and I wouldn't stay around it. And
Right.
I would, if I, you know, visit, I visit, but I'm not going on trips. I'm not like I did before. But that's a mind change.
Right.
So yeah, with a mindset change, you can do anything.
Yeah.
You can do absolutely anything.
Yeah.
Now I only apply that to certain situations because I have something that I'm dealing with right now. Oh boy, you know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, yeah.
But it's still good.
I don't know. I think it's superficial. Cause boy, woo. Anyway,
No, it's not because you wouldn't put so much effort in it.
well, yeah, but no, it's school. I despise school. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so you have to, and that's what the expectation. So I think people need to talk about that, and be real with that. I read something where someone was saying, when you first meet someone, you shouldn't tell them like, it was funny because they said you shouldn't tell them that you expect them to do this and this and this and this and that. He said, let them be who they are, because
So
then
you
you'll
know,
know
yeah.
that they shouldn't be doing. So my thing is, I kind of agree and I don't agree, because you may have people like you said, like try to be manipulative, and so they become like narcissists are good at that. They become the people that they think you want them to be. So unless you have unless you're really good at discerning, you have a true discerning spirit, that may be difficult to be able to tell someone like, this is what I will and won't accept, and then trust that that person is actually like that when they show you that. But I thought that was an interesting aspect of it. But the thing is, you have to have these expectations. You have to stick by whatever your standards and stuff are, and then the ones that you are willing to negotiate. Like I said, with the counseling, you'll know, because now you're not emotionally led. You're really thinking with a clear head. Yeah, I can deal with this, or I can't deal with that, or I can deal with this. And so I think just a lot of people would be better off and not have to deal with a bunch of other stuff that may come along. And then the last one I was going to talk about, like I said, we can talk about the rest next time. Yeah, you meet them, and so that you meet them and not their representative, because people engage in impression management.
Yeah, we talked about that too.
For a very long time. It used to be that they said people can do it for 6 months. I've seen where people can do it longer than 6 months now. They're up to in the years where they are able to engage in impression management. And so it's really important. I think, and again, counseling brings that out too, though. But it's really important to be aware that you may not be meeting the person that you think you're meeting. So
yeah, because if you'd have met me, you'd have thought I was a millionaire.
That's true.
Ooh, boy.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of stuff I couldn't afford.
The other one they were talking about is impact of social media on relationships. Now, why?
No, that can't be. That still ain't going right.
Why?
That gotta be.
No,
but that gotta be amongst kids.
No, it's
Or
not.
young adults, rather.
Okay, so
it has to be.
This is what they're saying. Social media.
You ain't do full research on that.
I did. You know, I'm shocked, but then I'm not shocked, because I'm like, no, there's some people that's just as addicted to social media today as they were before. So when you talk about it and the fact that's addicted to it, when you talk about people having, so basically the study was saying you don't have to necessarily worry about physical relationships. Now you have these virtual relationships that people are doing on social media. And it's hard to fathom that it's still going on, but I can see where it would be still going on.
That's why, you know what, I was gonna say it has to be against for younger people, but I just realized, like, I just stopped 5 years ago.
Right.
So my social media. Listen, now what I will say is, if you wouldn't have married me, I probably would be rich, because I was on social media hard. And the stuff that I was saying, I would have been a content creator, because I was doing some destructive stuff on social media, which, you know, we know the world is full of the devil, and that's what thrives it. So but anyway, that's a whole nother story. But so I was gonna say it was a younger group maybe, but you know, as I look through the bike week groups and you know, different groups, people are still doing it. Like I still see people complaining about, you know, you liked her picture or you liked his picture or she's this, that, and the third. And like, and yes, I am one that don't believe in social media, dating and meeting spouses and through apps and all of that. And yet still I met my wife. So it worked for me, right? And I'm still don't think that's a good thing. But when you in a relationship, it took me a long time to understand this too, that you can cheat without physically touching somebody.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people don't understand that.
Right.
I was one because of how I was brought up. Somebody told me something about emotionally cheating. I said, you gotta be the emotionally cheating. What the like what you know what I mean? Like I was, but again, a maturing mindset changes that, and I don't think people understand that is a form of cheating.
It is.
I really don't. When I say I don't think they understand, I really don't think they understand. Because when somebody complains about, and I've complained to somebody about it, and I know you have, when somebody complains to you, especially your partner that you probably telling them that you love, that hey, I don't like you doing this or that, whether it's on social media or in real life, you should automatically want to stop.
Yeah.
And when it comes to social media, I don't like you commenting on his picture or her picture. I don't like you liking. Why do you keep going to her picture or his picture? Like, obviously, if it doesn't mean, as we like to say then, because, you know, we good at saying, oh, it's just social media, da, 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 da. No, if it's just social media, then stop because that person asked you to and you love them.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, respect them enough not to do it anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so if it's just social media, it became just social media to me with you. And what I realized, I was doing it for entertainment, and then I got addicted. So like crackhead, I guess they did it to get high, and then got addicted.
Right.
Which I mean, I never smoked crack, I don't know, but then I got addicted. But then I met my rehab, and it was you. So it's like it was really just social media for me. But at the end of the day, when I was in it, it wasn't just social media.
Right.
Because that just being social media really led me to the person that I was dating before you.
Right, but I think that there's a lot of aspects to that too when you're talking about social media. I think some people who it also involves time, right? Because now you have people who are saying that they're, and I really saw this, like they were talking about spouses, and they were saying they were going to bed with their phone in their hand. And they wake up in the morning with the phone in their hand. So it's not even if you're not on there necessarily doing anything negative, it's taking so much time away from families, even with people talking to their kids, with them sitting around tables together. Because how do you continue to learn someone? How do you continue to nurture a relationship if you spend the majority, like we're already working. We're already spending all type of crazy time working, whether we at work, at school, taking care of the kids, and then we're going to spend additional time on social media? So what time do you have for your relationships at that point? And then the other thing is, if you're on it that much, you're more likely to even unintentionally say something that you shouldn't be saying on social media, and you don't necessarily think it's bad, but hey, you said it because you were there and you called it a moment or whatever. And that's what happened. I
got caught up in that with her, as far as me, because sometimes the way I say stuff could seem inappropriate, and it can be innocent as I don't know what. I forgot what it was, but I said I do it a lot. Matter of fact, well, I used to do it a lot. I try not to really comment or something, but I'll make a comment something like, what was it that you said? Something like women or something. Like, it'd be something like I'll make it like I'm thinking I'm generalizing it, but it sounds more personal. Like if women do this, or if you're I don't know whatever it is, but. So it can be unintentional. And I just stopped really, I'll make comments every blue moon, but I stopped trying to comment on different posts that may be a little bit controversial, because I know that I don't say things right all the time. And I don't really have time to go back and forth with this woman. She'll know that it's innocent, but then the thing is, why did you say it this way? But baby, you know I meant it. Well, they ain't gonna know that, and I ain't doing. So guess what? I try not to comment. Right now, what I
be trying to get them to see the error.
Yeah, she does, but I don't really want to do it. So what I will say is this: I'm guilty of what you're saying. You think that I don't be on social media as much as I used to be, but I do keep to your point, I do keep my phone in my hand a lot. Like even when we go out on dates, and it's very addictive. Well, you think it not? I try not to, but it's just something about grabbing it, right? But now, to the thing of that, I would before, because I'm not out in the streets doing what I used to do. My cousin say this all the time: man, you never call me back, you never answer my calls. To the point of having the phone in your hand and how social media can mess up things. Like I would keep my phone with me because of certain things I would say on social media and certain people that may call me. Like nobody really had access to pick up my phone and go through my phone, because I don't, I was doing things. If you do something and you worried about your spouse seeing it, then you know it's wrong.
Yeah.
So I knew what I was saying and things, whether I was going to do them or not. If somebody seen it, it'll make them mad and hurt.
Right.
So I kept my phone with me. Now I don't have those problems because I'll leave my phone. Take my phone.
He doesn't have a problem with keeping his phone with him. But I think, in my opinion, I think he stayed on social media too much.
I don't be on social media. I'll be on YouTube and.
That's social media, baby.
YouTube is not really social media.
That is social media, yes. All of that is.
I don't really comment on YouTube though.
But
I don't comment at all on YouTube.
Social media, it's just social media.
Videos.
It doesn't matter.
Why don't you start watching porn?
You know what?
That ain't social media.
Yeah. The point is the time people are spending on their phones is taken away from their relationships. And it's not as hard of a fix as people think it is. I get that a lot of people are addicted to their phone, but like one of the things I've started forcing myself to do is like in the morning, like matter of fact, Jermaine was trying to show me something on his phone the other morning. I was like, wait, I was telling him I don't get on the phone or on social media until after I've done my morning habits, like my prayers and all that stuff, because that's something that gets me to the point where, okay, if I'm abstaining from it that long, then I can start to abstain from it longer and longer and longer. And I really don't, to be honest, like when I do get on Facebook, I like maybe post or share some things consecutively real quick, but I'm not on Facebook nowhere near as much as I used to be. I'm not really on any social media as much as I used to be. I don't even stay on LinkedIn like that, because when I went to LinkedIn the last time, there was a bunch of posts that didn't have anything to do with jobs. So I was like, yeah, no. So I don't spend as much time. And sometimes I will intentionally leave my phone upstairs, and I know I have my watch on, so if like the kids are trying to call me, I can, answer my phone, but I'll intentionally leave my phone somewhere so that I'm not even tempted to grab my phone and be on Facebook or so, because it can be addictive. I think they've created it that way, but it is another distraction. Yeah. It keeps you from not only relationships, but it keeps you from accomplishing goals. It keeps you from getting things done when you need to get things done. It makes your partner be angry, because maybe you were supposed to do something around the house and you never got around to it because you picked your phone, and now all of a sudden you scrolling through reels and watching videos and everything else, which is unnecessary. Like,
you know what? Now I feel convicted because no, I'm sorry. I didn't cut you.
No, go ahead.
I seen something that said before, and I think you said it too a long time ago. If you're always on your phone when you out with the person that you're with, how much do you really like them?
You're right.
How are they boring to you? Like it, and you and I, we'll have conversations forever, just talking. But in those conversations, I still got my phone in my hand. You're not boring to me, so it's like, why the heck I'll have my phone in my hand?
Right.
I'm gonna try. You're
gonna try.
I'm gonna try.
You're gonna try.
I don't know how it's gonna work, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. So,
but no, it was interesting. It was like, wow, social media. When you look at it from that aspect, I think the first thing people think about is cheating. Well, that's part of it, but then the other one is just like it's just taking so much time away from their partner, and it's just, I don't think people realize how precious time is. And when you have these, we were doing we do a Bible study together, and it was talking about all the fleeting moments all the small moments, and how all of those moments are there. Those are the things that build up to the great big moments, or those are the things that make the big moments special. And we forget about that a lot of times. So we just let time fly by, and we're not spending time with each other. We're not talking with each other. We're not talking with the kids. We're not asking them how their day is going. We're not doing any of that. And if we even, I'm gonna ask you, for people, if you don't believe me, just write down how much time you spend on your phone or on social media during the day and see. And I think you'd be shocked at how much time you spend.
Yeah, because most people,
See you later, Matt.
most people, when they wake up, like you said, the first thing they do is grab their phone. Like you and me say, thank you for, and I'm guilty of it too sometimes. You don't even say thank you, God, for waking me up at minimum, right? Now I don't do this. You don't notice this. If I do wake up, sometimes I do wake up and grab my phone, right? But it used to be I would wake up, grab my phone. If I have to go to the bathroom, like to you know, urinate or whatever, I wake up and grab my phone in the morning. I'm saying, and take it with me in the bathroom, looking at it. But I stopped doing that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, and that was because of what you had said too. So I said I was gonna try something different. But yeah.
Yeah, so it's very important. So
I do want to say this though. Well, we gotta go. Never mind.
No, good.
I was gonna talk about the thing that you told me earlier a little bit for a second.
Okay.
I just want to tell y'all women this. I know Valentine's Day just passed, and you know, I was seeing a conversation that my wife was having, you know, of this lady been married over 20 years, and her husband finally gave her some flowers after 20 years on Valentine's Day, and took her out, and she was elated. But he was on his phone on Valentine's Day. And I guess the flowers were supposed to suffice. If only I've been saying this forever. If the only time women, ladies, y'all get flowers and roses and things of gratitude and love from your husbands, spouses, whatever, is on Valentine's Day, you may need to look at alternative motives of getting satisfied in a relationship or a marriage. And for any man that does that, shame on you. That's all I want to say.
Look for alternative motives.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like divorces and other men.
You know what? He
Well,
doesn't.
Yes, I do. I mean, I actually do.
I think no, you need to start going to maybe counseling or something.
No, it's too late. Counseling ain't gonna help.
It could.
No. And I'm not being funny when I say that. I don't think counseling.
If you're a Christian, it could. Because if you go on, I mean, God can change everything. There's no
I hate when she do that. Let me tell y'all something. If you're a believer, anytime you get into an argument and somebody just say, "Well, God, you can't. What are you gonna do if you're a true believer in Christ?" You can't say, "How do I rebuttal that?"
Right.
I have no more rebuttals for that. No, God ain't gonna do that. Like, what are you gonna say? Like, let's not do that to me all the time, man.
I'm sorry, but it's true.
Was it? Are they Christians?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
They are. So anyway, we are done for tonight. I have a paper I have to go finish writing. I don't like group projects, and we're working on group projects, and I got to go pull everybody's paper together before 11:59. But next week we can finish talking about the hot topics, because the other ones coming up are the love language, role of trust, exploring non-traditional relationship, balancing personal growth, navigating different political views within a couple, and then also physical performance. So those are interesting.
The sexual?
Yeah, they were talking about that's and it's mostly the men feeling inadequate or something. So like we will talk about that next week.
Size matters.
I think it's gonna be really interesting.
And I have one that I will add to that. Is compatibility automatic, or can it be manufactured?
I think it's more organic, but we can talk about that.
All right. Peace, love, and Afro grease.
See you later. We were supposed to do did we do something at the end?
Yeah, I was supposed to kiss you, but I don't want to kiss you.
Have a good night.